African Jacana are endemic to sub-Saharan Africa. They are seldom found in arid areas, but are widely distributed in the more moist regions, excluding the Central and West African rainforests where they do not occur. In the southern subcontinent, African Jacana are predominantly found in the northern and eastern subtropical areas. African Jacana are distinctive birds. They have a pale blue bill and forehead shield, a white face and neck, and a chestnut body. They have long legs and extremely long toes, which enable these birds to walk on water lily leaves in search of food. African Jacana are residents of both perennial and ephemeral wetlands, as well as river floodplains, large dams, and inundated marshes. Their favoured habitats are river and wetland edges. The diet of African Jacana is made up almost exclusively of invertebrates, supplemented to some extent by seeds and the eggs of amphibians. Sexual dimorphism is a feature of African Jacana morphology. Adult female Jacanas are some 70% heavier than males, and consequently they are much larger. With a seemingly chauvinist twist of nature, despite their considerably heavier weight, the footspan of Jacana females is only 5% larger than that of males. As a consequence of their greater weight and relatively smaller feet, female African Jacanas are not able to walk on smaller lily leaves, which males are able to do with impunity, thereby enabling them to forage more productively and hunt further afield. At various places in the Okavango Delta and along the Caprivi Strip, male African Jacana and lesser Jacana are frequently seen foraging together. Their principal feeding modus operandi is to glean insects, larvae, and other food items from the surfaces of floating vegetation. Lesser Jacana are endemic to sub-Saharan Africa. In southern Africa, this species is found in the low-lying wetter areas of northwestern Namibia, Botswana north of Lake Ngami, western and central Zimbabwe, the coastal lowlands of southern Mozambique, and the northern coastal lowlands of KwaZulu-Natal. Lesser Jacana are common in the Okavango Delta, but generally they are uncommon and largely localized in limited areas in southern Africa. Lesser Jacana are common in the Okavango Delta, but generally they are uncommon and largely localized in limited areas in southern Africa. Lesser Jacanas are much smaller than African Jacanas. Their bodies are only slightly larger than those of a sparrow. Lesser Jacanas have white bellies, breasts, and throats. They have conspicuous golden rufous crowns and a rufous stripe through the eyes. As with African Jacana, Lesser Jacana have very long spread-out toes, which enables them to walk on nymphaea lily leaves in search of food. Lesser Jacanas, which are the smallest Jacanas in the world, look very much like juvenile African Jacana. Where their ranges overlap, they coexist in the same habitats. Unlike the African Jacanas, Lesser Jacanas lack pronounced sexual dimorphism. Females are only slightly larger and only about 4% heavier than Lesser Jacana males. Lesser Jacanas favour quiet, still backwaters, with extensive areas of water lilies and sedges. Notably, Lesser Jacana walk continuously while searching for food. When foraging on lily pads, they walk about twice as fast as they do when walking among sedges and grasses, due to the limited carrying capacity of the lilies. Lesser Jacana frequently pull up submerged plant stems in their search for aquatic insects and their larvae. The Lesser Jacana diet consists in the main, if not entirely, of small insects. These are either picked off the water surface or gleaned off nymphaea lily leaves and other vegetation. Spotted thickneys are widespread in Africa south of the Sahara, excluding the forested areas of West and Central Africa. It is the only thickney species that has extended its range outside of Africa, namely to the south and southwestern areas of the Arabian Peninsula. Spotted thickneys have distinctive dark brown spotted markings above and are streaked below. They have relatively large heads, dominant yellow eyes, and conspicuous white eyebrows. They have large, stout, black and yellow bills and long yellow legs. There are 4 species of thickneys in Africa, 2 of which occur in southern Africa, namely spotted thickneys and water thickneys. Spotted thickneys tend to favor open habitats, including grasslands, lowland fynbos, karoo scrublands, and open savannas. They are very rarely seen in forests and dense woodlands. Unlike water thickneys, spotted thickneys are not closely associated with water. However, they are often found in long grass close to flay margins. Increasingly, spotted thickneys have cautiously integrated into many man-made habitats, such as golf courses, sports fields, airfields, and a variety of suburban environments, including urban parks and greenbelts. Breeding in the winter rainfall region of the Western Cape normally starts at the end of the winter rains, around August and September, and it continues through to April. In the summer rainfall regions, most of the breeding takes place between August and November, before the summer rains. Their nests are usually a simple scrape in the ground. The clutch size varies from 1 to 3 eggs, but the most usual is 2 eggs. Both sexes incubate the eggs, with the female usually taking most of the day's shift. The incubation period is normally between 24 to 26 days. The diets of spotted thickneys consist principally of insects, crustaceans, mollusks, and small frogs. However, they are also known to occasionally eat seeds, as well as larger prey, including small snakes. Water thickneys are endemic to sub-Saharan Africa, where they have a widely dispersed distribution. Their predominant range is south of the equator, where they are largely confined to estuaries and low-altitude rivers and wetlands. They do not occur in either the arid western regions nor in the tropical forests of Central Africa. However, they do occur in a broad sweep from southern Angola along the Caprivi Strip in Namibia to the Okavango swamps, and from there through northern Botswana to Lake Ngami in the south. Their range then extends across Zimbabwe to Mozambique, and from there their range extends in a narrow band along the east coast, from just south of the Tropic of Capricorn to the Western Cape. Water thickneys are smaller than spotted thickneys. They have large yellow eyes and conspicuous white eyebrows. On their wings is a large distinctive grey wing panel with a brownish and white bar above the panel and a brown bar below the panel. These birds have a light brown streaked back and are white below with faint streaks. Their large bills are black and yellow, and they have greenish-yellow legs. As their name suggests, water thickneys are closely associated with water. They are found in a wide range of wetland types, ranging from large rivers, lakes and swamps, to estuaries, coastal rock pools, and open sandy beaches. Suitable habitats for water thickneys must also provide cover where the birds can quickly hide or shelter during the day. A notable feature is their statuesque deportment and their preference to remain very still for as long as possible in order not to attract undue attention rather than to fly away. Water thickneys are normally seen in pairs, but they are moderately gregarious and are sometimes seen in groups of 3 or more, and sometimes to as many as 20 birds. The bill of the water thickney is longer and more robust than that of the spotted thickney, and their diet is more diverse. At or near water, they primarily forage for aquatic insects, crabs, frogs, and tadpoles, while on drier land, their diet primarily comprises locusts, grasshoppers, and termites. African black oystercatchers are endemic to the coasts and offshore islands of the southern African sub-region. They are largely sedentary and are the only oystercatcher species that breeds in sub-Saharan Africa. The breeding range extends from the Hwaneb River mouth on Namibia's Skeleton Coast to the Bashi River in the Eastern Cape. The center of the species range is from the Olifants River on the Western Cape's coast to Mossel Bay. More than half of the world's black oystercatcher population is found in this region. African black oystercatchers are large waders. They have red eyes with orange-yellow eye rings, reddish-orange bills, and red legs. The bill shapes of male and female African black oystercatchers differ to some extent. The male's bill is relatively short, sturdy, and chisel-ended, enabling it to smash or prise open mollusks, limpets, and mussels, whereas the female's bill is slightly longer and more pointed. With their different-shaped bills, they are able to exploit different prey types. Males take a higher proportion of gastropods, especially limpets and whelks. Females primarily concentrate on mussels and to a lesser extent on polychaetes. Feeding takes place in the intertidal zone during the day and at night. Black oystercatchers are monogamous and retain the same mate for long periods. Cases reported in Saldanha Bay, for example, have exceeded 15 years. However, domestic squabbles are not unknown, and sometimes even outsiders seem to get involved. The world population of black oystercatchers is small. In the 1980s, it was estimated to be less than 5,000 birds, with less than 2,000 birds actively breeding. However, by 2005, the world population had grown to an estimated 6,700 birds, a 34% increase in 25 years. This increase is due inter alia to the banning of vehicles being driven on beaches and the promotion of a greater awareness of the vulnerability of black oystercatchers and the need for their protection. Also, very importantly, was the introduction into South African waters in 1984 of an alien fast-growing Mediterranean mussel, Mytilus galloprovincialis. These mussels have substantially boosted the availability of food for black oyster catchers. Today, the Mytilus is the dominant low intertidal mussel along South Africa's Cape Coast, providing between 70 to 92% of black oyster catcher diets. Today, the distribution of Mytilus mussels in South Africa spans an area from the Namibian border in the north to Port Alfred in the southeast. The alien mussels are smaller but are more accessible than the indigenous mussels. Research reveals that so far the Mytilus mussels have had no adverse impact on the diversity of marine life in South African waters. As a consequence of these positive actions, the global IUCN assessment of the African black oyster catcher status is, quote, near threatened, close quote. In South Africa, however, the species has been downlisted to, quote, least concern, close quote.